Welcome everyone, it is 2 minutes to the hour and why not, we're jumping in with spoiler warning. Plenty to talk about today and I expect this to be a relatively big one because let's face it, it's the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble has of course just taken place and because of Royal Rumble just taking place there is still so much to talk about. What does it mean for WrestleMania? What does it mean for the future? What does it mean in general? Welcome Jess, thank you kindly, and apparently you've reached level 10 in the team, whatever that means. Thank you kindly. We are going to be going in depth on Logan Paul making enemies, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, AJ Styles, got confused there, Alexa Bliss, where she's going, the reports on Fightful Select, some of which are not correct and some of which confirm what I reported well in advance. Dave Meltzer, his opinion of the fact that he's not wrong about Bliss and was never wrong about Bliss, but the WWE was wrong about Bliss. I don't even want to do more on that, but it needs sharing. Becky Lynch being on site for the Royal Rumble will be discussed. The pitch for WrestleMania for Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Rumours of an AJ Styles match that's planned for WrestleMania and what happened with Aleister Black. We've also got a little bit extra to be going into. I want to talk about Rumble disinformation. So the amount, as always, of considerable fake news that we have seen over the course of the last few days in the build-up to the Royal Rumble. A whole lot of people every single year get it massively wrong when it comes to the Royal Rumble. So let's state who got it wrong, how they got it wrong, when they got it wrong, and how wrong it was. Plenty to talk about as we continue with that. We will be going deep into... Welcome Ed on the TikTok side. Thank you for the heart. Appreciate that. It also reminds me of when you last sent a rose. Also, lovely. I've been doing this for a while. Thank you. We will be covering all of that as we dive deeper into spoiler warning, as well as providing the occasional recap for anyone who has missed anything. So stick around. Be sure to hit like if you're on the TikTok side. You can hit it as many times as you want. If you're on the YouTube side, just the once if you will. We have 23 likes already. Let's keep that number going as we go into what is going to be our first piece of news. And that is as regards the winner of the Men's Royal Rumble, Jey Uso. Jey Uso is someone that the WWE have been looking to put in this position for months. This was decided months ago and simply did not get out. The WWE encouraged rumours of The Rock. The WWE encouraged rumours of CM Punk winning in order to prevent the news from escaping. Triple H essentially told everybody different things and then waited for it all to go wrong. Jey Uso was a 16-1 chance in the betting averages. Not a favourite by any stretch of the imagination. CM Punk, John Cena, Roman Reigns, The Rock, all ranking far higher, as was Seth Rollins. So it seemingly came out of nowhere, but the WWE has been planning this for a long time. Ever since Jey Uso won the Intercontinental Championship, the WWE was using that opportunity to test the response he would get. Jey Uso versus Gunter was also teased around that time. So around that time, both Bron Breakker and Jey Uso both teased working with Gunter. This is because Bron Breakker also was someone that they were considering to win the Royal Rumble. Bron Breakker naturally got a very big moment against Roman Reigns, something Roman Reigns was looking to make happen. Jey Uso got the win. It was a surprise to me. I did enjoy not knowing about this one, and it was a big surprise in the moment for many, many people. Jey Uso, the winner of the Men's Royal Rumble. On the women's side, Charlotte Flair was less of a surprise. She was the clear and obvious favourite. After all, I've been reporting for months she will be facing Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, and that is indeed the plan. Liam says, hello Tom, was it always the plan to have Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble? Depends what you mean by always. They only really locked it in the fall. Ed says, hey everyone, welcome Ed. Liam says they did Jey versus Gunter almost 2 weeks ago at random. They should have put somebody else versus Gunter than have Jey win the Rumble like he did. Or, that massively helped, people like yourself think, oh, he's not going to win that. Spider-Boss says, any truth about PWInsider's report about Drew McIntyre? We will be covering the truth and the false when it comes to the reporting around the Royal Rumble. Spider-Boss says, Roxanne barely got any offense against Charlotte. It looked bad. She'd been in the match almost an hour longer than Charlotte, so no, it didn't. Juan says it's showtime. Welcome. Calvin says hello, Tom. Hello, Calvin. Scorpio says hit the like button and watch out for the pig. Always watch that pig, guys. Billy gives a thumbs up. Lightly Milk Grayson says hello. Ed says the road to Colohue Mania. No, Calvin, I didn't watch the Grammys. Why would I? Declan says I was so unhappy Becky Lynch isn't going to be a WrestleMania. Who said that? Also says who could win the Elimination Chamber this year? Like everyone. Everyone who's in the matches. Lots of people. John Cena, probably not. Maybe, probably not. Liam says Logan Paul versus Styles for Mania is that day. Styles is supposed to be moving to Raw. More on that later. TJ says, hi Tom, nice to be able to join you live after a few months. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, mate. It's been a little while. Glad to see you back. Hope you're good. Iris says, went to the Rumble, lost my mind when Bliss came out. Yeah. Plenty more to come on that, don't you worry. Plenty more information there. Sean says, hello, Tom. Welcome, Sean. Entertainment says, hey, Tom. Hey, chat. And hey to you. Sean says, how's your Monday? Going pretty well so far. Going pretty well. Had my tea, had a nap. Good times. Marcel says, hi, Tom. Do you have any news on Cody or injury? To my knowledge, Cody Rhodes is not seriously injured and is not of any concern to the WWE. Alan says it's so obvious Cena is winning the chamber just to lose the title match at Mania. Absolutely pointless if you ask me. Funnily enough, a lot of people thought that exact thing about the Royal Rumble, that it was so obvious that John Cena was winning the Rumble. Ed sends an ice cream cone. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. I don't know how the gifting system works. I don't understand TikTok. I'm live, for those who don't know, on both YouTube and TikTok as we speak. And it's a very different setup and it's a very different system, and I get very confused by it. What I will say is, as regards the YouTube side, monetization is returning shortly. Declan says, if Becky does come back, what match for WrestleMania this year? So if this happens, what will happen? Asking me for a guess, mate. Michael says, hi Tom. Welcome, Michael. Calvin says Roman's got to have a huge concussion after those 2 stomps from Seth, at least a storyline one. Chris says, hot tag the like button. Spider-Boss says, I liked the post-match spot with Roman and Seth and CM Punk, and so you should. Liam says, how come Becky Lynch wasn't in the Rumble? I'll be on that very shortly. Spider-Boss says, Fightful's taking credit for the Alexa Bliss news. Of course they are. We all know how this works, guys. We also know how this works. Liam says, is KO okay after the Alabama slam? Yep, absolutely fine. No problems. Everyone's good. Chris says, can you address whether or not there's heat for Carmelo Hayes? He was eliminated very early in the Rumble. No heat for Carmelo Hayes. Someone's got to go early. TJ says, will Alexa eventually be in the Wyatt 6? Sure looks like it based on the 6 in the Lily doll. Is it possible Cena turns heel or has some grey shades based on the Royal Rumble post-show promo? Yes, no. Angel says, what are plans for Liv Morgan at WrestleMania? Is it Becky, is it Alexa, or tag title match? I would imagine Liv Morgan versus Alexa Bliss is an opportunity. It is something that they've been looking for, and it is something that they could potentially still throw together. What I will say as regards that is that Liv Morgan will be competing for the Elimination Chamber, and I kind of expect Alexa Bliss to be in that as well. Dylan says, does the WWE care what the IWC care about? Or do they just do what they want because they have it booked, and so Jay is going to have a rock moment where his main event is taken from? Okay, so you guessed most of this, I'm guessing? I don't know what you're saying. As regards the IWC, yes, that's why Jay Uso won the Rumble. Sean says, any truth about the report from PWInsider of Alexa replacing Shotzi in the Rumble? More on that shortly. Michael says, Elias on his way to Ring of Honor / AEW. Post a video with The Righteous. Certainly that is something being teased. KJ says, what's up, Tom? What's up, KJ? Good to see you, mate. Counterfeit says, Tom, where were the rest of the girls in the Rumble, hence Jade, Becky, etc.? Do you think some girls in the Women's Rumble should have got replaced? Should have? No, because there needed to be 30 people. There were 30 people. As regards the rest, we will get to that shortly. Spider-Boss says, Jade Cargill wasn't cleared for the Rumble. Jade Cargill is cleared. Jade Cargill is cleared. KJ says, good to see Bliss commentators shut down Dave and PW. Sean says, according to Fightful, Alexa has signed a new 5-year deal with WWE. More on that later. The other Mike says, it's funny how people fantasy book in their minds and get pissed when it doesn't work out. Yeah, a lot of people think they're the writer of the show. It's very confusing. Alex says, Cena's promo at the press conference was so stupid seeing as he doesn't want 17. The storyline he's been given is the storyline he's been given. And he's playing the role. It's that simple, really. Calvin says, did you notice no tag teams are in the Royal Rumble? I mean, the women's tag team champions are in the Rumble. Want to point that out. Aled says, Punk versus Sammy, Chamber qualified tonight. Who you got? I'm going Punk, personally. I think we'll see Punk. I think we'll see Roman involved. Dylan says, do you no longer do watch-alongs? I don't think you've actually done a watch-along for the Rumble. I didn't do a watch-along for the Rumble. It's the only watch-along I haven't done other than Saudi Arabia shows. So I don't think it's telling of the entire setup. We will be back for the Chamber. KJ says, Mello didn't go fast, he just went early as he came out early. Chris says, I loved seeing Penta working with Roman. That was really cool. Liam says, I think they should have swapped Nikki Bella and Bliss in entrance order. Would have been a better 30 surprise than Nikki. The match wrapped up fairly quickly afterwards. People would have thought they were punishing Alexa Bliss for being eliminated early. KJ says, Alexa, I think, are the biggest pop of the night. I agree with that. And Chris says, I hope EO wins the Chamber. Certainly an opportunity is there for it. The Rabbit says, hey, Tom, welcome the Rabbit. So, next piece of news is as regards Alexa Bliss, because I know everyone is asking for it, so let's dive into it. Alexa Bliss will return to Raw tonight. She will have herself a lot of fun and have the opportunity to really announce her return. Fightful Select are now reporting what I reported last week. A place was being held for her in the Royal Rumble. It was a place originally earmarked for Shotzi. Shotzi was aware that somebody was potentially taking her spot. She just didn't know who. The dirt sheets did not help her with that information. WWE were confident the entire time that a new deal would be signed, with more than enough time for Alexa Bliss to feature. Alexa Bliss got pretty much everything she asked for, which was a slight increase in pay and a limited day setup. So essentially, exactly what happened is exactly what I told you would happen on Monday, word for word. Fightful are now confirming what I've already said. PWInsider are confirming what I've already said. But they also beforehand said that it wasn't going to happen. So they've changed their story. They've updated their information. Be sure to follow spoiler warning. There's a little more later on the false reporting, but for now, that's what we have on Alexa Bliss. Spider-Boss says, people on social media are harassing Jay and his son. That crossed the line. Yep. Wrestling fans suck. Jess says, Lyra being eliminated so early was kind of weird. Nope. Intercontinental Champion. Also wardrobe malfunction. Liam says, Io wins the Chamber to face Rhea. Charlotte picks Tiffany and obviously Jay and Gunter and Cena. Nope. Spider-Boss says, who do you see taking the women's tag team titles from Bianca and Naomi? I suspect Liv and Raquel would be a good shout for that. Oh, gotcha. You were saying Cena wins the Chamber and faces Cody. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens. A lot of fantasy booking. Quickly, one more thing on Alexa Bliss, and this is as regards Dave Meltzer. Now, Dave Meltzer, who did report that we wouldn't see Alexa Bliss, that in fact people in WWE expected that she would never come back to the WWE, Dave Meltzer believes that he wasn't wrong. Dave Meltzer believed that instead the WWE swerved itself. Dave Meltzer seemingly believes that nobody at the WWE knew, including any of the people who organise contracts or who the entire time were in contact with Alexa Bliss. Denial and zero accountability are apparently a necessary part of being a wrestling journalist. That must be where I went wrong. The commentary team took great pleasure, and I mean great pleasure, in attacking the internet and the dirt sheets about this one. Once again, my profession continues to be thrown into disrepute by bad faith actors who are looking for a quick buck and could not care less about the individuals. Liam suggests Liv and Raquel versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. We'd need to actually engage with Nikki Cross first. Spider-Boss says Michael Cole joking about the rumours about Alexa during the Rumble was funny. I agree. And Liam says now that AJ Styles is back, I can finally think about Punk versus Styles and Styles versus Punk again. Ed says Alexa just showed up and said I'm going to enter the Rumble, and they were like, sure, come on, Dave. Yeah, yep, the guy does not make much sense, does he? Really doesn't make much sense. Dave Meltzer, everyone. The top wrestling journalist in the industry. Dylan, you're asking, are they going to take it from him? They chose him. They chose him. KJ says, any word on why Joe Hendry didn't last more than 2 minutes? He came up against Roman Reigns, basically. That's all there really is to it. He was a fairly late entrant, and they didn't have time to work through as much of the preparations as they would like. It was a fairly busy period there. And yes, when it comes to Joe Hendry, he just didn't get given a lot of time. Declan says, Nikki Bella made a return in the WWE ring. She did. As I said, the WWE were concerned whether there'd be any animosity between her and Cena. They essentially asked Cena's permission to use her, and he said, yes, go ahead. TJ says, Tom, will Bo return in time for WrestleMania? We need Howdy and the Wyatt Six making their debut on the biggest PLE. The Wyatt Six, as I mentioned in the build-up to Royal Rumble, have not been on any PLEs yet. Literally 0. This does not seem likely to change yet. Ashton said, B-Fab is not getting a pop. That's not good. I'm a Brandy fan. Aled, not surprised. As I said, they were going to clear it with Cena. We have 99 viewers on the YouTube, this close to 100. We also have 43 likes. 2 more gets us to 45, 7 more gets us to 50. Any more will get us to 100. Any more. So if you are on the YouTube side, be sure to hit that thumbs up and make sure, because it will guarantee we break the 100 viewers. Jordan says, good evening, Tom. Hope you're well. How's your more on that shortly merch coming along? One day, mate. One day. One day. Sean says, I wish we would have gotten that Joe Hendry John Cena stare down. Instead, you got Joe Hendry and Roman Reigns. And also, Joe Hendry did not let the stare down happen. Roman was ready for it. Joe Hendry just kicked him. He wasn't ready for it. Aled says, PWN said Alexa's at home because she posted videos of her daughter. So is she going to be at Raw tonight? She'll get the opportunity to explain herself at Raw tonight. PWN, that name is going to come up a lot later. A lot. KJ says, sometimes Rumble elimination set up Mania matches. I think Logan will either face AJ or Punk, and Rollins versus Roman. If not, Rollins versus Roman versus Punk. Moxie's spot. Dylan says, surely Jay beats Gunter at Mania, because what's the point of giving him the Rumble win if you're going to have him lose? Well, they can't win all the time. Mr. Sim says, was there anyone that you were not happening? Oh, Mr. Sims, couple of things. Firstly, I'm not going to say I'm not happy to see this person. They suck. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that person. Secondly, it wasn't Alexa Bliss instead of Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch wasn't in that. Becky Lynch wasn't in it. Nobody stole her spot. She wasn't there. Calm it down. Alex says, Joe Hendry after the Rumble did an interview still calling out Cena. Do you think it's going to happen? He's trying desperately to make it happen. Doesn't mean it's going to. Spider-Ball said, I'd love to see Zoe and Shayna winning the women's tag team titles. Liam says the first 2 of having Penta and Ray was magical. Also says, is Nikki Bella full-time? And if so, what brand will she be on? She got essentially the MVP opportunity. She might still be there now. Don't think she'll be there long. Mr. X says, why did Triple H book with 0 surprises? You don't think there was any surprises? Remember Joe Hendry? Remember Alexa Bliss? Remember Jey Uso winning? That was a surprise. Spider-Boss says, Cody not selling KO's moves was so random. Cody was like, nothing happened. Won't go that far. Mr. says, why did WWE use Matt Cardona? They didn't. Liam says, I have a dream. Styles versus Cena at Clash at Paris. The crowd, if that happens, will be absolutely phenomenal. Crowd are always phenomenal outside of the US. It says, loved watching Sheamus having fun enjoying Joe Hendry. True. Mazaraz says, your opinion of the IWC state and how they're slating WWE. Normal, and not in a good way. Unfortunately, when it comes to the internet wrestling community, Fickle was right. Daniel Bryan really hit the nail on the head with that one. The fact that only a couple of months ago, there were people on good old-fashioned social media screaming, crying out for Jey Uso to win the big one. And then when he wins the Royal Rumble, hate him. Can't stand him. It is ridiculous what we have to put up with in this field. Ridiculous. Spider-Bell says, the moment Naira eliminated 6 women at the same time, I knew Charlotte was winning. Miguel says, Roman versus Seth versus CM Punk at WrestleMania 41. Book it. Jess says, with Jada Parker always planned for the Rumble, seemed super random. Yes, she was. I did report a number of AEW talent. Wrong. NXT talent. I got those confused. A number of NXT talent who were planned. Knew about Julia, knew about Stephanie Vaca. That was kind of it. Mazaraj says AEW fans say WWE is in the mud when it isn't, and WWE fans say AEW is in the mud when it isn't. One thing we've learned as wrestling fans is that in order to win, you have to fight. So a lot of wrestling fans decide that they have to fight. Also says, where was Randy Orton? Wasn't booked. Liam says, it's disappointing that Strowman was okay after the Fatu match. Came back like nothing happened. Yeah, it didn't last long though, did he? Did not last long at all. KJ says, Alexa posted videos from him with her baby hours before the Rumble. Alexa is from a part of Cleveland. I don't know if she lives there, but no way she missed tonight's Raw. Calvin says, A-Town Down Under and the War Raiders were in Dallas for a Royal Rumble party. Don't understand flying them to Indianapolis and then flying to Dallas the night before the Rumble. There were some plans and they did meet some people. There's a lot of people who were there that weren't necessarily used. Hello, Ishy, good to see you. There's any news on the Wyatt Six or what's going on with them? Unfortunately, at this point, not really. Alexa Bliss wants to work with them. Doesn't mean she's going to get the opportunity too quickly. Alan says, CM Punk mad for not getting the Rumble win 2 years in a row? No. Why would he be? Bam Bam says, Nikki Bella back on full-time or as a part-timer? MVP opportunity coming her way. It's up to her to take it. Leon says, hi Tom. Hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you, Leon. Welcome to the show. Noob says, I was expecting Asuka. Told you it wouldn't happen. Jade Cargill. Told you she was cleared, but not guaranteed. Or Becky Lynch. Told you she was there with wrestling gear, but not guaranteed. To come out at 30 at the Royal Rumble. Didn't expect Nikki Bella of all people. So what you're saying is you were surprised. Roy says, I went crazy when Jordan Grace picked up Nia Jax on her shoulders. Far too easy. Far too easy. Calvin says, I think Joe Hendry was eliminated way too early. Surprised Nick Nemeth didn't pop up. There was no intention for Nick Nemeth. I'll go into more detail later. Dylan says, how people can still trust Dave Meltzer after being proven time and time again. Dave basically just steals others' reports, passing it off at his own, and then gets the credit. It's beyond me. Plenty more do that as well. Juan says, are you intrigued in Mercedes Money versus Harley Cameron? Yes, I am. Harley Cameron's doing a really good job right now, and I'm very excited to see what she does with a bigger opportunity. Thank you, Sid. Appreciate you. Counterfeit says, Tom, people low-key didn't like Charlotte winning as they felt it was predictable, but when Jay wins, it's still a problem as they felt like it was too unpredictable and John should have won, so I'm confused. Essentially, there are some people who enjoy being miserable. Mr. X, you're a bit of a dick, aren't you? Mr. X says, it's reported Matt Cardona was in the Rumble. Why did Otis steal his spot? Otis didn't steal his spot. Matt Cardona wasn't in the Rumble. Matt Cardona was never planned to be in the Rumble. You have been reading things which were wrong. You have been reading things which were lies, and now you're angry at completely uninvolved people for no reason. You're not going to last very long in this chat. We don't like that. We like people with brains. Mazaraj says, if AEW invaded WWE like an invasion, who's going to win? Well, AEW is a lot more of them. Spider-Boss says, I'm happy for my Chilean mate Stephanie Vaca appeared at the Women's Rumble. Your mate? Weird. Liam says, could Alexa cost Liv tonight? Could. Heel move? Unlikely. Spider-Boss was expecting Becky. Okay. When any of the four horsemen or someone from the bloodline wins, the IWC get mad. The IWC get mad most of the time. The IWC exists in a perpetual state of madness. Also, if you're getting most of your information from Twitter, mad is the only thing they do there. It says brains are yummy. She says, do you expect Alexa Bliss to join the Wyatt Six in the future? She wants to. I don't necessarily expect it. 119 viewers on YouTube so far. 1 off 20, 50 likes. Can we do any more? Because if we do, we get that 120. Recent records so far this year is 136. 120 is getting closer. Let's keep those likes going. Mr. X says, Sean Ross Sapp reported Matt Cardona was in town. And? So you decide on the word of Sean Ross Sapp that the WWE lied and that Otis stole his spot? I'm guessing you're biased, because why would you pick Otis of all people? Answer me that. Why Otis? Jess says, wrestling Twitter are always mad at everything. It's best to stay away from the app. Spider-Boss says, what was the point of having eyes show speed at the men's rumble? Eyes. Same as Logan Paul. Chris says, any clue who Bron Breakker will face for the IC title? At this point, honestly, no. I'd love it to be Roman, but I don't necessarily think it happens. I really don't. Andrew says, hello Tom, hope you're well. Had goosebumps when Cena, Roman and Punk did a stare down and Seth's music gave me chills. It was pretty clear it would be Seth. pretty clear it would be Seth. But sometimes predictable is good, and that was definitely an example of it. Calvin says, Joe called out Roman too. Well, Samoa Joe, I'm in. Roy says, why did AJ Styles go back to his old music? He liked it better. Dylan says, will Cody and Cena main event night 1 or 2? Because Jay Gunter is clearly main eventing one of those nights. Cody will main event night 2. Cody Rhodes will main event WrestleMania. Whether Cena is across from him, I cannot at this point state. Ashton says, hopefully during Alexa's promo some weird thing happens, a glitch or something. I miss howdy. Calvin says, shocked Matt Cardona didn't pop up in the match either. At least you're not accusing Otis of being why. Alex says, is iShow Speed okay after that bronze spear? Yeah, he's fine. He actually took it really well. He intentionally took it wrong, which I think is quite clever. Rabbit says, what's next for AJ Styles? More on that later. Declan says, what matches are we getting for Elimination Chamber of both men and women? There'll be an Elimination Chamber match for both the men and the women. I can promise you that. Ray says, did you see Jey Uso winning when he was the last with Cena? No, genuinely didn't. Had no idea. I really enjoyed having no idea. It was fantastic. Liam says, Tozawa for Speed was genius. Poor Speed got snapped in half nearly. Yeah, and I like that he was that guy. Oh, right. Okay. Mr. X is a Vince sucker. Great. Jess says, I'm surprised Jacob didn't eliminate Roman. I'd have liked that. WWE don't think he's ready for that much spotlight just yet. Roman got eliminated in something that advanced the story. The story is not Jacob versus Roman. Joe says, hey Tom, how are you doing today? Do you think if Cena goes to the chamber, do you think he wins it? I think it's a possibility. I just don't know what that adds to the future, as it were. Bailey says, Roxanne did a great job for over 60 minutes in the ring. She did indeed. And Andrew says, I hope we see Aleister Black soon. More on that later. Ashton says, WrestleMania without Roman as main event for night 2. I'm still digesting that. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it does. Chris says, Paul Finn got no reaction when it came out. Surely WWE aren't happy with Def Rebel for that. They're also not happy with Finn Balor for that. Dawn says, afternoon Tom and everyone. Welcome Dawn. Mr. Sims says, I thought Jordynne Grace would be the last in the Rumble to set up a match with Charlotte Flair. No, why would that happen? I've been telling you for months that Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton is a match at Mania. Carl says, hi Tom, any news on Carmella and Braun Strowman? Carmella, still recovering, is cleared. They're just waiting for the right time. As regards Braun Strowman, he was in the Rumble. Sean says, hope everyone who went to WrestleCon got to see Indy Hartwell had fun. Alex says, what brand is Jordynne Grace going to? Personally, I expect NXT. Ishii says, could we see Y6 versus Judgment Day? One day, probably. They're eventually going to run out of other options. Carl says, any news on John Cena? Yes, John Cena is a guy doing a thing. Guy doing a thing. Liam is excited for Yeetlemania. Some things roll off the tongue, that does not. Spider-Boss says, I think Seth will cost the match to CM Punk tonight. That works for me. And Liam says, a stomp on the outside from Seth was brutal. Spider-Boss echoes it. Roman getting stomped twice at the Rumble was a great spot. Roman looked weak in this Rumble. He looked battered and he looked beatable. I want to give the man credit for that. He gave a lot back to a lot of people. He gave a lot to Bron Breakker. He gave a lot to the Seth and CM Punk storyline. He gave a lot. His performance in the Rumble was exemplary. Melissa says, hi Tom, Charlotte said a while ago she'd like to face Bianca Belair first and then Stratton. Now that she's getting Tiffany first, do you think there is still a plan to do the Bianca match? Yes. She's desperate to do it. TJ says, Tom, is Bo indeed the one sidelined with the injury? I've been able to confirm nothing as regards an injury to the Wyatt Six, and I'm not going to report or comment on anything that I cannot confirm. Welcome, Jamie. Good to see you. Bam Bam says, does that teaser for Vengeance Day have something to do with TNA, maybe? No. It's got a lot to do with NXT, though. Q says, for the people that say this is the worst pair of Rumble winners, did we forget about 2022? Sadly so. Q43 says, I've already read that one. Gay Samar. The name. Some people like to be miserable, and we like people with brains. This channel is brilliant. It's what we do here. It's what we do. It's what we do. I'm not a fan of the Vince sucker, who seems to think that Otis stole Matt Cardona's spot, and it's Triple H's fault. I want to say more on that later, because I do have news on Matt Cardona, but what the hell is that? People be dumb sometimes. Liam says, when do you think Punk will use his favour from Heyman? When there's a championship to win. Jey Uso could be a good shot. Spider-Boss says, I laughed when Rhea told Tiffany, good luck Tiffy, when they got asked about who Charlotte would pick. Jess says, what's up with Corey Graves? Nothing. Guy doing a thing? You all got issues, man. Carl says, Stephanie McMahon was backstage at the Royal Rumble. She was also out front at the Royal Rumble. Declan says, still waiting for the man to come back. Welcome, Dan. Good to see you, mate. Says, I love Jey winning. What's the point in talent getting over if you're not going to then recognise that and run with it? Absolutely. It was only a couple of months ago. People would have been offended if Jey Uso did not win the Royal Rumble. The fact that people haven't gone behind him in the same way, baffling to me. Don't make any sense. Alex says, do you know when Roman is next scheduled to appear and Cena is going to be gone for another month? Is he going to work TV eventually and not just PLEs? Cena has around 30 appearances. Most of them will be on TV, don't you worry. As regards Roman, I don't think he'll be gone that long. Mr. Sims says, Jordan Grace should go straight to the main roster. Want to see Jordan Grace versus Becky? Not there right now. Or Charlotte Flair, booked for WrestleMania. Give her a couple of months. Andrew says, do we see a Cena heel turn down the line? No. Every time I ask the question, every time it's the same answer. No. Juan says, Ricochet could have promo saying, I don't know how to be a pro wrestler to Swerve Strickland. Not sure that's the best way to build to a match. I mean, he's a flippy guy. How else would you call it? Calvin says, any news on plans for a feud between Drew and Damien? Yes. Andrew says, why were they angry at Balor, his performance? No. It's just not working for Judgment Day right now. The fans are not behind it. Ishii says, is it true Alexa is staying on the Raw brand? Already covered at the earlier part in the show. Alexa Bliss is on Raw. Calvin says, Elimination Chamber qualifying matches begin tonight. Chris says, I get the feeling it'll be Penta versus Breakker for the IC title. Do not threaten me with a good time. So it says, Indy Hartwell said in a YouTube blog she's now a free agent. Hope she signed with TNA. She's been a free agent for a while. She hasn't signed with TNA, otherwise she wouldn't be a free agent. Entertainment says, my dream is a feud between Drew and Joe Hendry. There are places you can find that. Sean says, I was confused. Was that a heel turn for the Street Profits or not because they attacked the champions? Yes. It's a heel turn for the Street Profits. Ooh, just got to catch up here. Spider-Boss says, do you think the tag team titles will be defended at Mania? Yeah, probably. A lot of matches. Ed says, Tony Khan has the Rumble and give half the field of surprises, so try again. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Spider-Boss says, Jay got his big moment and people complained. Yep, people like to complain. Liam says, this Rumble booking can end badly if they don't give Jay the world title. It could also end badly if they don't give him the world title. Depends what fans like. Spider-Boss says, when Cody won back-to-back Rumbles and finished his story, people didn't say anything. People said a lot, but it was mostly, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They were mostly just hating on The Rock instead. Dawn says, I was happy to see Jay, not new, but new to singles and getting a nice push. So tired of Charlotte always getting the win. Is Dakota Kai facing possible release due to always being injured? Not going to comment on potential releases, just to be very, very clear on that one. As regards Jey Uso, is not new to singles. He's been main event Uso for almost 5 years. Calvin says, it would be a miracle if KO doesn't have a broken neck after that Alabama slam. Miracles happen. Sid says, is it going to be WWE versus TNA for World Collide? No. TJ says, do we have any idea when the White Six story will continue? Even a guess. The WWE don't know. They're making it up as they go along and they have no other choice. It's not working. It's just not working. We have 133 people watching on YouTube, 55 likes. Let's keep them going to keep that number going up. 136 is our record so far this year. You're only 4 away from that, and every like guarantees that number going up. Where was I? Hi Blair, good to see you. Calvin says, I would have been on the edge of my seat if Corey Graves and Pat McAfee entered the Royal Rumble and brawled all the way backstage. I'm sure you would have done, but one of them has not been cleared despite people saying that he has been. Entertainment says, I've never been a fan of Jay the Singles Act, but I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Carl says, any plans for Braun Strowman at Mania? Covered that on Friday. He's in a bit of a delicate spot right now. Alex said, the only reason I'm disappointed with Jay winning is because we've seen Gunter versus Jay 3 times. Gunter has won all of them, and the matches haven't been good. So what if he challenges Cody? Just throwing that out there. They were a tag team for a while. Mary says, hey Tom, how you doing? Now we know why it's a no of Alexa. When do we see them again? unrelated, unfortunately. Razar says, was Nikki Bella only back for the Rumble, or will she be working more? Answered that a little earlier. I believe she's getting the MVP opportunity. She could potentially turn it into more. I just don't think she's going to be able to. One says, 2013 was the best time to turn Cena heel. That's when fans were getting tired of him. TJ says, I know you said no heel turn for Cena, but is it possible? No. Whatever the question is, if it's about Cena turning heel, the answer's no. You can give me whatever scenario you want. From my perspective, the answer will be no. That'll be it. Mr. Sim says, do you think the tag team title match was a good match at the Rumble? I hated the Street Profits interfering. Yeah, very good wrestlers involved. Very good wrestlers involved. Jack says, Roman and Jacob was tied with the most eliminated, so how did he look weak? Primarily because of the beating that he took. He got the eliminations in early. It was actually a low elimination Rumble for the men. But he also took a hell of a spear from Bron Breakker, got absolutely demolished at the end by Seth Rollins. He looked weak, and that's not a negative, that's a compliment. He worked for the cause. He worked for Seth, he worked for Bron, he worked for Punk. Roman chose to get beaten down at every opportunity. That is intentionally looking weak to help the others around you. Keem says, does Graves and McAfee have beef? No. Okay, Samal says, she signed with TNA, that's why she's no longer a free agent. Watching every single stream now for this brilliant acidic wit. The question was, has she signed with TNA, but she's announced as a free agent? I was just trying to clarify that. In case it at some point turns on you, because it will, I am just a sarcastic Brit. That's all it is. I'll hit you with stuff. It's not with an intent to harm, it's just I am a very sarcastic man. I like to make people laugh. I can't complain. Carl says, any news on the WWE Hall of Fame? The only news has already been publicised as regards Triple H. Bam says, any news on another international PLE besides already announced clash in Paris? They're once again negotiating with the UK. Beyond that, there is a lot of buzz around certain countries, but they're putting a lot of stock into Saudi Arabia again. John says, what if Jay chooses Obafemi? I wouldn't hate it. Dylan says, do you see Ireland getting a PLE this year or next year? Probably not, no. Awkwardly placed, and yeah. Mary says, will we get Drew McIntyre versus LA Knight? More on that shortly. Calvin says, can you imagine Zelina Vega's ring gear on Saturday ending up on Most Wanted Treasures? I mean, she's keeping it. Thank you, Carr. Appreciate that. Chris says, I'm not ready for Roman to be in the giving back part of his career. He has been since he lost the championship. Alice says, does Logan Paul eliminating Punk mean they have plans for a match between them eventually? Eventually is a very long time. She says, Fightful said one of the Y6 are sidelines. They did say that. I've been unable to confirm that. And because I've been unable to confirm it, I have not reported it. I'm not going to comment on releases. Not going to. Calvin says, any news on Backlash being in Mexico? Nothing has been made official. And if nothing has been made official, there is unfortunately not much I can do with it. Spider-Boss says, it was surprising seeing Roman and Penta interacting at the Royal Rumble. I mean, Penta was getting a good spot, and indeed he made the best of it. Liam suggests Jimmy Uso dethroning Shinsuke Nakamura. And Liam is excited to have Io versus Penta with intergender matches at 2K25, something which, of course, happened at Lucha Underground way back when. Jess says, I'm surprised Solo wasn't in the Rumble. I love you, Solo. And Spider-Boss says, fans are so fickle they used to complain about Cena, and now fans cheer Cena. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Liam says, what's the latest with Solo? He's out to Jacob Fatu's way. I love this. Spider-Boss says, Roman gave back to Cody, Seth, CM Punk. At some point, it'll be time to give back to Roman. He was the champion for 4 years. 4 years. And after, 9 months? We need to give back to Roman. What the hell? 4 years. 4 years. TJ, nothing is permanent in wrestling. You should know that already. Chris said, does CM Punk have any desire to work with Logan Paul? Yes. Yes, he does. A lot of people do. A lot of people have a desire to hurt Logan Paul as well. In fact, let's go into that. Logan Paul has made a lot of enemies recently. None less than the many, many enemies he made in the WWE quite recently. CM Punk, AJ Styles, LA Knight, plenty more made a point of beating Logan Paul down and keeping him in the corner for as long as they possibly could whenever he was not involved in a spot. And when he was involved in a spot, you'll never guess what happened. It all went wrong. He is believed to have over-celebrated in the ring. Also, LA Knight is believed to have spent too long before attacking him and taking him out as they were intending to. And that meant that something went wrong with the timing for Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Logan Paul has made a number of enemies, and there are a number of wrestlers who are very, very eager to face off with him and do some damage. So yes, it is an awkward time to be Logan Paul. As regards Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest is the current pitch for WrestleMania. McIntyre is not unhappy with the match. He's said to be excited to give back after seeing Priest's career hit a wall. We've seen some rebranding for Damian Priest as they try to elevate him back to the level he had when he first won the championship. They're trying to really push him as a face and believe that Drew McIntyre is the right person to do it. There are rumours that Drew McIntyre is upset and not having a more high-profile match. This is garbage. Utter and complete garbage. Drew McIntyre is thrilled with the match that he has been offered. Thrilled. What do we got here? Mr. Sim says, do you know why Drew McIntyre stormed out of the WWE Royal Rumble? Yeah, I've just covered that. It was primarily work, to be clear. He stormed out because he has other places to be. I don't know. But yeah, he wasn't furious. He wasn't furious with what was going on in the match. He just saw an opportunity to get more going. After all, he stormed out when CM Punk debuted, and that made headlines. People leak this crap. Carl says, any news on Dragon Lee? Nothing to share at this point. Ashton says, Tom, could Travis Scott be scheduled for a match or something of that sort? I was expecting him rather than ISO Speed, but Speed definitely made a memory of a lifetime with that spear take. Again, he intentionally took it wrong. Man knows how to work. Liam says, does that mean Drew will move to SmackDown? We'll see. It's a build to Mania, and technically, drafts will come after. Spider-Boss says, I think Jade Cargill will cost the tag team titles to Bianca and Naomi. Also says they gave back to Cena again and again years ago, and now people want to see Cena win their title. Yeah. It's been years, though. Years. Roman has been less than one. Chris says, Penta isn't in 2K25, at least not officially confirmed. Maybe DLC. Yeah, eventually. No, Chris, Solo is not a wise man. That's not how that works. Kevin says, watching a wrestling fan punch the TV because Charlotte and Jey Uso won the Rumble, these people take wrestling really serious, and it's really sad. Yeah, that does sound it. Christopher says, will we get Bayley versus Nikki Bella at WrestleMania 41? I don't believe there's any suggestion of that, but Bayley has no feud right now, so I wouldn't hate it. Penta says, it seems like they don't really have plans for Nakamura. Seems like a gap filler, and that's a shame, because Nakamura versus Penta would be fun. That would be fun. That would be fun. Chris says, USA Network is tweeting, asking fans if they want to see Alexa Bliss on SmackDown. Maybe they'll tease it, and that'll be the storyline for a while. She'll appear on both. Calvin says, WrestleTalk listed 7 superstars that could turn face on the road to WrestleMania, and Solo Sikoa was on the list. I don't see it. Austin Theory was on the list. And also Nikki Bella versus Chelsea Green would be a good feud. That would be fun. Jon, we're not far off the Becky Lynch news. It is our next piece. It'll only be in a couple of minutes. Chris says, McIntyre versus Knight is more captivating in my opinion. LA Knight's not exactly as popular backstage as he once was. No news on Bronson Reed. Cara, it's going to take a while. TJ says, I know, Tom, you're right, brother, and I do know that nothing is permanent. Just beginning to get frustrated as the White Six have so much potential. Bo is killing it in the vignette. I wholeheartedly agree. Something is not working, and they need to find out what it is and address it. Otherwise, there's no point having them. Roy says, are you a fan of... Not sure what you're saying there, Roy. Alan says, there was a small part of me when I saw Roxanne in the final 2 that thought she could win it. I would have been happy if it happened. Dylan says, do you see Roman, Punk and Rollins having a triple threat at Mania? Personally, yeah. Yeah, I do. Oh, Blue, good shout. Roxanne, it's already there. Drive-by says, hi, Tom, do you think the Rumble angle with Roman, Punk and Rollins was for anywhere for WrestleMania? Yes, I do. Christopher's saying, Roxanne Perez versus Bayley at NXT Stand and Deliver. Mary says, can we at least get Nikki Cross back on WWE? I did state early on that there were very few actual intentions to have Nikki Cross wrestling as part of the Wyatt Six. It's one of the many reasons we haven't seen her wrestling much. Spider-Boss says, do you think Solo Sikoa will return at some point? He hasn't retired, so yes. Liam says, Penta versus Ilya Dragunov. Tom, that'll feed generations when Dragunov is back. Spider-Boss says, Drew put over Seth and Jay and CM Punk, but he still doesn't win the big one. He's won the big one several times. What happened to Memory? Do you remember Memory? It's not like he's never won a championship. Let's not just make things up here. Weird. The other Mike says, what's the word on Mellow Hayes? Are all these pins setting up for a huge summer? Kind of yes, kind of no. He came from NXT, so he's at the bottom of the ladder. Somebody's got to lose. Penta says, do you see Elias aligned with the righteous? Yes, indeed. Blue says, my favourite part of the Rumble was Roxanne going long in the Rumble. She's winning Money in the Bank or the Rumble in the next year. Just going to be sad if it's Saudi. It would be sad if it was Saudi. I don't want that to happen. Nobody wants that to happen. How do we do this? What does that mean? I'm trying to make someone a... There it is. There it is. Just trying to show some respect to somebody. Spider-Boss says, Bayley and Nikki Bella have some history considering the Bella twins tossed Bayley at Mania 37. So 4 years ago. Liam says, I was thinking Punk can win the Rumble next year. Oh wait, it's in Saudi. Never mind. Yeah, he won't be there. He won't be there. Roy says, will we be getting Chelsea Green versus Piper Niven? Anything can happen. Calvin says, why is LA Knight losing popularity backstage? Does he have heat with some of the superstars or higher ups? You lose popularity when you don't do much. Jey Uso apparently has lost a lot of popularity. Why? Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Yeah, you get me, Ed. Blue says LA Knight's unpopular is a locker room thing or a management thing. Didn't say unpopular, said less popular than he was. Sean says, is it safe to say Steph went ballistic at the Rumble on Roman? I mean, it was scripted. Carl says, any news on Bad Bunny? He likes singing. There's a spoiler for you. Ishii says, where's the part that Alexa wants to work with Wyatt Six? What do you mean, where's the part? I said it. I said it. Roy says, are you a fan of celebrities having wrestling matches? Depends if they're good. I like good wrestlers. Chris says, Bron Breakker versus Penta for the IC title at Mania. And TJ says, is there a chance we see Stone Cold Steve Austin make an appearance at WrestleMania? Yeah, but he won't be wrestling. He's done. Spider-Boss wants Sami Zayn to win next year's Rumble. Penta says, do you think they missed an opportunity bringing back Orton at the Rumble? No, because they didn't intend to do that. And how are KO and Cody after the brutal match? Banged up, but fine. Mary says Roman should never get the title back. I don't disagree with that. Next piece of news. There are rumours that the Logan Paul match at WrestleMania are going to be a match with AJ Styles. Yeah. It's been pitched for WrestleMania and the two are said to have become quite close recently backstage. Also, the main reason we didn't see Aleister Black in the Rumble, even though a spot was being saved for him, was that he was not essentially registered in time. The contract is on the table. The contract is ready. Aleister Black himself is not. Spider-Boss says, who do you think will face Cody at WrestleMania 41? Still kind of leaning towards Orton. I really am. The last piece of news I've got is going to be the misinformation section, where I look at all the lies that people told and tear them a new one. So I'll catch up with the chat and then we'll get to that. Or did I miss one? Did I miss one? Did I miss one? Yes, I did. Becky Lynch was on site for the Royal Rumble. She was there in person, meeting a few of the newer faces and meeting with Triple H and other senior officials. She's excited by the storyline that's being pitched for her, but it did not require her to feature in the Rumble. It may be that she doesn't appear at WrestleMania, but that would just be to leave room for other people. Becky Lynch has signed a new deal. Becky Lynch is eager to return. Becky Lynch trusts the people who are writing the stories for her. We will see Becky Lynch sooner rather than later. 135 people watching, 68 likes. 2 more get it up to 70. Would appreciate that thumbs up. Let's catch up with the chat before the misinformation section. Entertainment says, I thought they sorted out all of the potential roadblocks that would come with the Wyatt Six. That's why they tried to tone down the supernatural stuff. I hope they figure something out. Welcome, Daniel Berry. Good to see you. Calvin says, what did you think of Nia's hair? She has hair? I don't know. Weird question. Kelvin says, I was laughing when number 30 was not AJ Lee. The look of the wrestling fans. Chris said, do you think CM Punk will be written off before next year's Rumble? Perhaps a brutal attack. Perhaps indeed. Carl says, my favourite part of the Rumble was Rey Mysterio versus Penta facing off. Ashton says, any news on Brock? They don't want him. They do not want him. Michael says, how does a best 2 out of 3 falls match last a total of 14 minutes when they know that both Rumbles are going to take up all of the time of our goddamn lives? Calvin says Paul Ludwig suffered the same humiliation Santino Marella suffered 16 years ago. Sid said, is AJ Styles going to be a face? Not really defined as of yet, though there is an opportunity right now to do whatever they want. Aled says, SRS said Becky wasn't in town. I'm saying she was. Carl says, any news on Rey Mysterio for WrestleMania? Not at this point in time. And Chris suggests Becky versus Lyra, which has in fact happened before. Jess says, AJ and Logan backstage yelling about flat earth, probably. Spider-Boss says, last week, Ludwig Kaiser wanted to beat up Logan Paul after Logan tried to flirt with Tiffany. Once again, there has been no confirmation that that rumour is true. No confirmation whatsoever that that rumour is true. And I need you to stop spreading it. We don't do bullshit here. So stop it. No worries, Ashton. And TJ says, is Alistair interested in returning to the WWE? He has been for about 2 years now and will be returning as soon as he can. Ishii says, could we see Alexa on both brands? We could. Andrew says, I still hope we get Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth and Becky at SummerSlam. Obviously, it's up to AJ herself when or if she wants to be back. So, it is time to talk about the fake news that circulated round the Royal Rumble. It happens every year. I still remember the year where we had to say, oh, The Rock and Stone Cold will not be having a stare down at the end of the Royal Rumble. That's ridiculous. And again, you cannot prove to me that PW and Nexus are not the same people, Zero, that reported that. You can't. You just can't do it. It's not possible. You also can't prove to me that WrestleVotes isn't the same people. Because their name is WrestleVotes. That's not a name. You don't give birth to someone and say, WrestleVotes. I wouldn't anyway, although I can't give birth, so that might be why. Anyway, I'm going off track. Alexa Bliss signed a new deal with plenty of time to spare. It was not a case of turning up, signing on the dotted line, and immediately out there. The deal was comfortably in place for a while. She got a limited date deal with a modest income increase. She was not asking for a lot. She was not there begging for millions upon millions of pounds. It didn't happen like that. WWE were open to negotiating for someone who still had a lot of interest from elsewhere. They knew she was a valuable commodity. They made sure she was comfortable with the deal before she arrived to sign it at the show. So it was all thoroughly vetted, checked, and comfortable. There was also a report that Alexa Bliss didn't sign a deal until 5 a.m. on the day of the Royal Rumble. No. There was a physical signing there. There was a virtual signing long before. Utter garbage. Jess also wouldn't name a baby WrestleVotes. That's good to know. Spider-Boss says, last year fans wanted to see Mercedes at the Women's Rumble and nothing happened. People need to start listening to me. They need to start. Carl says, Finn versus Sheamus would be a great match. Not a bad show. Kevin says, do you think Triple H dropped the ball on choosing the winner? No. Carl says, any news on AEW Superstar contract expires? Nothing at this point. KJ says, speaking of Zero, he said Randy and Jeff would be in the Rumble. Also said Rock would win from 31. I wasn't let down at all, but I hate that he does this. Yeah. And people still follow that. Spider-Boss says, I remember PWInsider was saying AJ Styles would return several times and nothing happened. Yeah, they've got a weakness when it comes to AJ. It's particularly AJ Styles. The amount of times they've reported something about AJ Styles that hasn't happened is very confusing. Very confusing. AJ Lee. There was never a moment where AJ Lee looked likely to appear in the Royal Rumble. As I've reported numerous times, the WWE remain interested. She does not. The WWE have made offers. They've spoken to Punk about will she be interested. She is said to have absolutely no interest in returning to wrestling. Anyone who told you AJ Lee would be there was at best guessing and at worst lying. So find your sources and set them straight. Alex says, does Alexa's new deal have championships involved? Very few contracts involve championships. Ronda's did, Kurt Angle's did way back when, but that's kind of it. Chris says, can you talk about the possibility of Brock returning? Sure, no. He's not going to. Calvin says, I agree with people that Fury being in NXT for a bit would be good. Got a very surprising reaction last week. They chanted for him to turn on Waller. Ishii says, do you think Alexa will bring the Funhouse back or Playground Alexa? Could do in future. Right now, she's the hybrid character she left as. I'm not always correct, Carl. We're not going to play that game. When I'm wrong, and this does happen, I openly say I got that one wrong. My record's very good, but no one's 100%. Nobody. No update, Mr. Stumble, no. Roy says, I got a lot of Alexa Bliss marks coming at me on X because I said I won't be watching Alexa Bliss because the character is not for me. That's fair enough. If you're not a fan, you're not a fan, and I ain't going to blame no one for that. Do your thing, you know? Do your thing. And Ashton Rain says, no AJ Lee. Matt Cardona was at the Rumble, supporting Chelsea Green, his wife. WWE aren't particularly interested in bringing him back, and are of the belief that he's intentionally planting rumours to maintain high levels of interest in him. I've said this for years because I've seen the name Matt Cardona pop up hundreds of times. Hundreds of times. Always wrong. Always. To my knowledge, as of right now, the WWE simply have not been interested at any point in bringing him back. Also true of Nick Nemeth. Nick Nemeth was never considered. Mustafa Ali was, but he wasn't interested. They were trying, they just did not succeed. Jess says, when does Brock's deal officially run out? I'm not sure on that one, but it's not long now. Not long now. TJ says, I agree, Tom. Majority of these, like Zero, WrestleVotes, and etc., just post stories to get likes and attract attention. I've always loved your honesty and you being a straight shooter. Thank you, TJ. I appreciate that. It's one of the reasons I'm not growing particularly quickly, but I'd rather grow at the speed I'm doing and be happy. I'd rather die proud of myself, be, moral, etc. Miz's dad is far tougher than anyone, Mr. Stumble. You know this. Dominic says, hi, Tom. Is Charlotte going to beat Tiffany? You can find out by watching WrestleMania. Chris says, Regal and Levesque do not have any interest in him, so it won't happen. Andrew says, Tom, telling true facts here. The lies out there, zero news in the dirt sheets who hyped up the rumours, but there's one person you all should believe is Tom. Thank you, Andrew. Carl says, any news on more WWE superstars appearing on TNA? WWE superstars, no. NXT superstars, yes. Ashton says, your record is probably that of the streak. I appreciate that. Sean says, thoughts on Sheamus standing there and letting Joe Hendry do his thing? Sheamus must believe. Sheamus does believe. And Mr. Sims says, Matt Cardona recently appeared in TNA. Yep, they're paying him a lot of money for the privilege. Thank you, Ishii. I appreciate that. Chris says, WWE more likely to bring in David Finlay over Nemeth and Cardona. They are interested in David Finlay. Just want to point that one out. Carl says, any news on Undertaker appearing at Mania? Hopefully not. Stephen says, hi Tom, just wanted to say I appreciate the amount of time and effort you put into these streams. Thank you, Stephen. That's very kind of you to say. I spend a lot of time scripting, verifying, validating. There are days when I think I've got 5 or 6 news reports, and then by the end of the day, when we're about to go live, I actually don't have that information because I don't have the confidence enough to stand behind it. These things matter. Xavier says, I hope you're having a good day, Tom. I am indeed. Thank you. Reports on Omos being in town were accurate. Reports that he was going to be in the Rumble were not. I can confirm those reports saying that Omos was there and in fact was involved in some of the planning. He actually stepped in for some of the rehearsals, but he was never planned to be in the Rumble in any capacity. Jey Uso was chosen to win the Rumble months ago Not, as I've seen reported, at the beginning of January. He was not chosen to win the Rumble a month ago. That is not how Triple H works. It was around the same time he lost the Intercontinental Championship when they teased a match with Gunther and saw a solid response from fans. That's when they decided to go all the way with this. Bron Breakker was also considered as a possibility. Jess says, any update on Hogan trying to be besties with Trump? He's still trying. He's still failing. Spider-Boss says it was really good to see Jay White winning last week. FDR says prediction on the breakout superstars for this year. Also, hi Tom. Hi FDR. I've got to say, Jay, I think he's going to have the year. Like the year. That was very nice of you, Stephen. Chris says, would Jay picking Cody and potentially winning make the WWE title a loser bracket title since Jay couldn't beat Gunther? Yes and no. Yes and no. TJ says, what's your opinion on Uncle Howdy versus Demon Finn Balor? Don't like the Demon King. Never worked for me. It was a guaranteed win. Nowadays, a guaranteed loss. Finn Balor don't really like it anymore either. Andrew says, I hope one day WWE bring in Jay White and Kenny Omega. I think at this point it's probably too late. John says, I wish more people would believe you about news on Becky over that Kermit guy. Funny people still believe Kermit when I believe he was one that said WWE was sold to Saudi. He was, yes. People don't remember these things, apparently. Chris says, why do Gunther versus Jay at Saturday Night Main Event then? Because they wanted to. They wanted to either build hype or build an element of, hey, at WrestleMania, you can't beat me because you never have. They were creating history. Calvin says, can you believe it's been almost 7 years since the first Women's Royal Rumble? TNA, I'm not sure, Mr. Sims. Bam Bam says, can we expect surprise maybe on Judgment Day? Yes, because all the matches have not been announced yet, so we don't even know who wins them. Chris says, is Finn Balor unhappy and just phoning it in? No. He's just not getting very good creative. And Spider-Boss says, I don't like much seeing Moxley's group looking unbeatable almost every week. And that is all we have time for. We've been live for an hour now, so I'm going to wrap this up. We did peak at a new record for the month of 137 viewers. That's on the YouTube side. Over on TikTok, still averaging about a 7. And you know what? I'm not complaining about that because that is pretty good for a show that has only just started. We will be saying goodbye at this point. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has joined us, who's given us the company, who's given us the time of day, who continues to support these channels. You will be able to support with memberships on the YouTube side shortly, as well as donations if you would like to, but there is no pressure to do so. Until then, I'm going to wrap us up. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined. I've been Tom Colohue, you have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.